Good afternoon, boys and girls. It is afternoon here in Nottingham, and it is Auntie Audrey. Welcome back. Today, as you can see, I'm at home. I'm reading from home, but I'll be going to work later on tonight. Yeah, as you know, there's the coronavirus, so I'm just reminding everyone to stay safe and to wash your hands. Do not touch your face, your eyes, your mouth, before you eat, before you don't greet people using your hands. Yeah, just stay safe to wherever you are. And God, in His time, the plague will pass away. We just keep praying that everyone is safe. God will hear and answer our prayers. So yes, welcome back and thank you for joining in. We continue with the readings. You know what? I wanted to give you a break and read something else, but then people said because we are at home now, we should continue with the stories. So I'll continue with the stories, but at some point I'll give you a break and read a different book so that we just have a bit of variety. Thank you once again, boys and girls. Today we are on story 8 of volume 2, and it's still on part 1. Remember yesterday, Joseph was sold by his brother to some strangers. So today it says a sad journey. It's found in Genesis chapter 37, verse 29 to 35. It's the story of Joseph. We continue with the story of Joseph. So before I read, we're going to pray our usual prayer. I'm hoping that by now most of you have learned the prayer. And you know why we repeat the same prayer? Because we've got some very small listeners who are 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old. So we just give them time to learn the prayer. So yes, we can close our eyes in prayer. Good afternoon, dear Jesus. This day is for you. I ask you to bless all I think, say and do. Amen. A sad journey. The Ishmaelites' caravan had just disappeared into the twilight when Reuben returned to the pit to set Joseph free. Imagine how shocked he was to discover that the boy was no longer there. Finding his brothers, he said in alarm, "The boy isn't there. Where can I turn now?" He couldn't bear the thought of facing his father without Joseph. It would break the old man's heart, and he simply couldn't tell him that they had all been mean and cruel enough to sell him as a slave. Then someone suggested a way out. They would tell Jacob a lie, that Joseph had been killed by some wild animal. To make this story seem true, they took Joseph's special robe and dipped it in the blood of a goat and carried it to Jacob. "We found this," they said. "Examine it to see if it is your son's robe." Jacob knew it, of course. "It is my son's robe," he said with a sob. "Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." So Jacob, who had deceived his father, was now deceived by his own sons. Then Jacob mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "in mourning will I go down to the grave to my son." So his father wept for him. How those brothers could have tried to comfort their poor old father without once telling him the truth is more than I can imagine. But they didn't dare tell what they had done. If they had, who could say what their father might do in his terrible anger? Meanwhile, poor Joseph, sad, weary, and homesick, was on his way to Egypt. Just think, only 17 and sold as a slave. As Joseph trudged along the dusty trail with his Ishmaelite masters, many tears must have run down his cheeks. Why, oh why, had all this evil come upon him? He wondered. Why had his brothers been so cruel to him? Why had they left him be taken away by strangers like this? Why hadn't anybody come to his rescue? As it grew dark on that first night away from home, he must have felt terribly lonely. He couldn't help thinking about his comfortable bed at home, his pets, and all the things a boy cares for most. Then he must have thought of his father and his little brother Benjamin and his mother who had died. That made him cry again. What a sad, sad journey it was. The nearer the caravan came to Egypt, the farther it got from home. Joseph must have wondered if he would ever see his home again. Many times he must have worried about what would happen to him in the foreign land to which the Ishmaelites were taking him. He knew he would soon be sold again, but to whom? It might be to somebody very harsh and cruel, who would make his life miserable. Then he thought about God, his father's God. Though the Bible doesn't say so, we may be sure he prayed many times that God would look after him and somehow help him find his loved ones again someday. And also we may be sure God was watching over this dear boy, just as he watches over every boy and girl who loves and trusts him. God knew that this sad journey into slavery was the best thing that could have happened to Joseph. Though Joseph did not understand it then, God was using his brother's unkindness to lead him to a great future that otherwise he would never have known. God often does that. He brings great blessing and happiness out of something that for a while seems very hard to bear. He loves to lead his trusting children out of darkness into light. At last, Joseph arrived in Egypt. He gazed wide-eyed at its great cities, its huge temples, its mighty pyramids, its mysterious sphinx, and all the throngs of strange-looking people. He never dreamed for a moment that someday he would be a ruler in this country. Yes, I loved this story, and it's really a true story in this time that we are living in, that sometimes bad things happen, like the coronavirus has happened, but God will bring light at the end of this darkness that we are facing. So boys and girls, let's trust and obey. Let's just believe in God that he will pull us through into light. Thank you for joining, and thank you for